life is done also by opportunity, by moments. All my career happened by moments. All my decision was never decision taken with the right visibility of what can happen, from Maserati to Bugatti to Lamborghini, and today also.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Car Chat podcast. And today I have with me Maurizio Reggiani. Hello.
Ciao, Srem. How are you?
Hello. Can you tell the listeners a sort of short summary of who you are and what you do?
Okay, I am a Italian engineer. I born in 59, really long time ago. And I start my career. I spent all my career in automotive industry. I start in 1982 in Maserati and working on engine development at this time of Biturbo. I move in the 88 in Bugatti when Bugatti didn't exist. I was employee number 2 and I was responsible for powertrain in Bugatti. And let me say, I developed what was the powertrain of AB110 and the AB110S. And in 95, I moved to Lamborghini, later responsible of the technical departments. And in 2006, I became a chief technical officer and board member of Lamborghini. And I still stay Lamborghini, also like vice president of Motorsport, till December 23, when I retire. And I finish my official career in automotive industry. And from, let me say, half of this year, I take the role like advisor for Eccentrica. That for me is a new chapter of my life, a new adventure, Italy enthusiasm. And I will try to give to Eccentrica all my experience, competence, mainly in the world of Lamborghini show.
Nice. I've got so many questions about this. So let's sort of go back to kind of the beginning. How did you get started in Maserati?
Was really a kind of surprise also for me. I was from when I was child, a lover of mechanics, engine, really also during the study to understand what happened in this cylinder when piston go up and down in the liner and what happened, why. And for this reason was a kind of, let me say, dream engine. And when I arrived in 80, at the end of the 81st, you can imagine, no computer, no mail, nothing was present. And you have only a newspaper. I read on a newspaper that was in University of Modena that there was a mechanical industry that research technician. I answered to this insertion without to know who was the company.
Oh, right.
I answer, let me say, on piece of paper. Yes, I present my like a candidate for this kind of test. And they called me in Modena to make a session test in an outside office, means without to know what kind of company still was try to catch me. I did a kind of test that at this time, normally what happened, they give a piece of components and you need to design and to make a kind of simulation, calculation, evaluation of technology. And I remember was an hub of the suspension. I did the job without to have any kind of information. And they told me, okay, we will be back when we finish all the screening of the people. And like I mentioned before, at this time, normally mobile don't exist, no mail. And I wait more or less 1 month. And one day I receive a mail, really physical mail, where was written that I was chosen for this kind of job and to present myself in Viale Ciro Menotti in Modena, that was for Maserati. And for me was a shock. And the second shock was when they told me that my job was in engine development. Means it's like to give to a child the best body that you can desire. And from this time, I start to work on the engine of Maserati Biturbo. Was February 82, and for this, I really touch the sky with a finger.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. And so you're working at Maserati developing engines for a while, and then did you get approached by Bugatti, who weren't doing anything at that point in time, or how did that little transition work?
Also, Bugatti was really close to Modena. Is in an area that is 10 kilometers far from Modena, and you can imagine there is a circle of technician that is like it's more or less similar to what you have in UK in the area of Silverstone. You go to eat aperitivo, you go to take a pizza, and there are all the people one close to the other. And for this reason, I was approached from engineer Stanzani, that was the guy that received the task to refound Bugatti. He is a guy that was, and these are really casualty, he was the first technical director of Lamborghini. And he approached me because, let me say, I was enough young. It's also not so difficult probably to catch me in a different company. And because experience was in a completely new engine with the turbo, with new technology and high specific. We have several discussions, but at this time, Stanzani don't tell me nothing about the name of the brand, because was still not officially the name Bugatti. The name of Bugatti was officialized at the beginning of 98, and I started to work in June 97 in Bugatti. And also in all the drawing that we did, that was never written Bugatti. Was a V12, was a 3.5 liter engine with a complex architecture, because in the casting of the engine was also the gearbox and the rear differential. It's more or less a layout similar to the Miura, but Miura was transversal, and in Bugatti we put longitudinal in order to have a shorter wheelbase as possible and some other feature. And Stanzani was able to convince me to join this company without name, without brand, because he told for a young engineering like you can be an outstanding experience, blah, 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 blah. And I started in Bugatti, and my badge was the badge number 2, because badge number 1 was of Stanzani. And the first day that I arrived in Bugatti, we were not in a marvelous building that after was realized in Campogalliano, but we were in a small technical office with some table. And when we arrived, I asked to Stanzani, okay, engineer, where I need to start to work in this new project. And he's smiling to me, and he tell, Maurizio, start where you want. We don't have nothing. This was the first time that I match what I call to be alone in front of a white paper, and you don't know if you want to put a vertical line or horizontal line, but there is nothing inside this. This will be really the center of the car, and you start exactly the point that you want.
Wow. Yeah. And at that point of time, what the car was going to be been like clearly defined, or how was the powertrain chosen? And I know it ended up, it was a quad turbo in the end, but like, how did that get chosen? And was there any cars with a quad turbo before then?
Nothing was defined. There was only some idea. It's like when you are seated around the table in a brainstorming and you start to say, we need to do as compact as possible, as lighter as possible, as power as possible. Like when you talk about super sport car and you want to have the best of the best. And this was several discussion. And what we did was to make powertrain before the design, before everything. We start the AB110 making the powertrain, telling that powertrain is in a super sport car, in terms of packaging, in terms of weight distribution, in terms of technical solution, is probably the biggest constraint that you can have. And it's clearly that we start with the first idea was to have a V12 3.5 liter, because at this time, if you remember, 3.5 was also the capacity of the Formula One. And the idea was to have the first concept was without turbo, and we decided to add the turbo when we recognized that the specific power probably were not enough to guarantee really state-of-the-art car for the 90 years. And this was the reason, because after we decided to add the four turbo, because based on my experience, was the same turbo that I use in the Maserati Biturbo.
Yeah.
EHIE turbo, really small, and we decided to put 4 in order to reduce as much as possible turbo lag. And we were the first one to make an application so complex, but at the end so helpful in the acceleration of the car and in reducing of inertia. At the end, we were also, let me say, an avant-garde, because we decided to put 4-wheel drive system. And with the central differential that at the beginning was a Thorsen, that was really state-of-the-art, because Thorsen was used also in the rear differential in Formula One, and we put in the center. And it's clearly that the car born really to be the pinnacle of the technology in the 90s. And what we achieved, I think, was sure state-of-the-art, because it was really super compact. It was 2.550 millimeter of wheelbase, really super compact. Weight was really low. And in terms of power, we have the first engine that equipped the AB110 was 525 horsepower. And when we put the Super Sport, it was 600. And I remember when we did Super Sport, one of the first customers that came in Campo Galliano to collect the car was Schumacher. At this time, he was in Benetton. And I remember he arrived with a Sierra Cosworth in the Campo Galliano, and he took the AB110S yellow, and for us was like a stamp of the credibility of a project, and how is a perceived a project in a business like Formula One or in super champion world.
That is so cool. And that, at that point in time as well, like people being allowed to drive other cars. Like nowadays, I think it's really difficult for Formula One drivers to go, I just want to buy one of them.
It is a sign, exclusivity contract with everybody. At this time, everything was a little bit more wild, put it this way.
Yeah. And how was that car? Because I'm quite a bit younger, and I didn't know much about the EB110 until, I don't know, maybe 5-10 years ago, so I came across it really. But how was it received at the time when it was launched?
When it was launched, let me say, the car had immediately a big impact. You need to remember that we launched the car in the beginning of the 90s. That was one of the periods where also was a really big crisis in a super sport car, but in all automotive world. And this allowed Lamborghini probably to choose some of the best technicians worldwide, because in the other company, let me say, the crisis was really perceivable also in an important super sport car company, like was Lamborghini or Ferrari. And we had really the opportunity and the possibility to have some of the best technician or engineering existing. I was able to work part with the Stanzani, but also with Materazzi, that was the father of the F40, with Forghieri, that was, let me say, the former the technical director of the Ferrari Formula One at let me say, in the moments where Ferrari was probably the top of the top. And this really allowed the company to have a credibility and to be really in a moments where all the other drop, Bugatti boost. And this create a kind of desire object, but skipped after sometimes, mainly due to the financial problem and some trouble in the production, in the industrialization of the car. This became critical and was at the end of the 94. And for this reason, at the beginning of 95, I decided to accept a proposal from Lamborghini. But also in this case, what happened was really something really strange, because when I decided to move to Lamborghini, engineer for Geary, that was my former chief technical officer in Bugatti, he came also, he had a previous also in Lamborghini, and probably was not so satisfied. And he told me, no, Maurizio, you cannot go to Lamborghini. You must go in another company. And I remember really very well, before Christmas time, he called Jean Todt in Ferrari, and he told with him, and after he told me, you must go to Ferrari, it was the 20th of December, to have a meeting with Mr. Jean Todt. I did. We discussed, because at this time they tried to catch responsible for the project of the new V10, but after some years equipped for Formula One. And was a time where in Ferrari there were several, let me say, people that came from UK, from Japan, from France, from Italy, and let me say, they asked to have a kind of project leader that tried to harmonize as much as possible. And for Jean Todt was okay. And after he said, okay, now you talk with the responsible of HR and logistics of Formula One. And by chance was Stefano Domenicali, that after became my CEO in Lamborghini. And we have several discussions about money, facility, benefit, and so. And we didn't arrive to a solution. And we shake the hand, telling, okay, we are in a small world, and with a smile. For this reason, after I moved to Lamborghini and not to Ferrari.
You've spent the whole time within a very small area, but with these really cool companies.
20-kilometer radius, you have more or less everything. And this is what I mentioned before. It's like if in UK you are in the area close to Silverstone. You can choose without to lose, let me say, your competence or your background, because every company that made this kind of job is really around this place.
Yeah. And I guess all the engineers, as you say, all stop hang out in the same sort of places, have a bit of a chat, get a coffee.
Yeah, if I see also when I was in Lamborghini, how many engineering came from every side of Italy, and also from other countries like Germany, like Austria, like UK also, because they know that if they are able to arrive and to stay in this area, after can start a kind of process where you can jump from one company to the other, really without to have big trouble, and with the possibility to know the people by chance also in some cases.
Yeah. And so when you moved to Lamborghini, what were you working on?
I started to work in Lamborghini in 95. I was, like I mentioned, responsible of engineering departments, and I started to work on Diablo. And this is another point that after we'll see later with the Eccentrica. For me, was really, I started in the middle of the cycle life of Diablo, and in the car that this time was the SE, the 30th anniversary of Lamborghini, the pilot car. And from this time, I started to work with, I did this project that was already running, but the car where really I put my effort, and so was the Diablo GT, Diablo SV, SVR, and the GTR was the first race car in Lamborghini.
Was it tricky coming in the middle of the cycle?
Yeah. I must say that first was really, and this is part also of my story. I arrived in Lamborghini when a shareholder was Indonesian shareholder. And for me, it was a little bit, not a little bit, was not easy. because it was a company where when the shareholders are not coming from automotive industry, they don't have a perception of how much cost and how many time is needed. This for them was, let me say, everything difficult to understand why you need so many money, why you need so many time to do something. And this was really difficult time. And this generate personally, but to all the company, a big trouble. Imagine that arriving Lamborghini when we were 180 employees overall, and we deliver more or less 180, 190 cars for a year. And you can imagine what are the level of investment in research and development that you can use. And for me, it was really dramatic. And at this time, the board of directors asked to have a second car to put on side of Diablo. And I started to make a concept development to see what is possible to do, but nothing was sustainable because mainly the development of new powertrain was not cannot match the investment that was identified. And they asked to look in the market if something can be chosen in order to be used with the tuning or something like this for a car that must be smaller of Diablo, must be with big volume and less price. And I started to make with my team different evaluation. And I arrived at the end that the best choice, the best solution was to take a V8 Audi, turn of 180 degrees, means you put the engine in the rear and the front differential in the front because it was still four-wheel drive. You change the gear sense in order to have a 6 gear in the front, 1 in the rear. And this was a packaging where you have... And at the end, I presented to the board of Lamborghini and they said, okay, now go to Audi and to ask if they supply the engine.
Yeah.
Okay, I worked with other people for 1 month to organize a meeting with the technical director of Audi. And they accept to receive me and the other 2 people in Ingolstadt. And technical director at this time was Dr. Peck, that after became also CEO of Bentley. And he was technical director. I explained the project, the concept, blah, blah, blah. And he told me, okay, Maurizio, okay, sorry, John. We will analyze in our concept development and you will have answer as soon you have. And he gave me an interface. Interface was the responsible of the concept development of Audi. That it was Toto Rackenberg, that after became CTO of the Volkswagen Group. And we have, I engaged a strong relationship with Rackenberg. We are still in touch now, imagine after 30 years. And we discussed along, but we were never able to have an official answer. And without an answer, you don't have a quotation and you cannot present a plan. And this meeting, the first meeting that I did was in July 97. Okay, discussion, no answer. I was in a Detroit Motor Show in January 98, and I met in Detroit. I met Rackenberg again, and they say, Rackenberg, we need the answer. I have really a big pressure from Indonesian shareholder, from a Lamborghini shareholder. And he told me, Maurizio, we have an answer. We can supply the powertrain to Lamborghini, but there is one condition. Tell me, Dr. Rackenberg, that Audi bought Lamborghini. And I told, sorry, Dr. Rackenberg, I cannot answer to this question. I was back to the booth of Lamborghini, and I told this, and was a kind of panic. And start a ping pong between Indonesian shareholder and Audi, because Indonesian was fine to sold Lamborghini, but they want to stay with a 5%, 10% of a share inside the car. And Audi say, never. We want to have everything. We want to take a decision, and without to compromise with the past. And start this ping pong another long time. And what happened, I cannot say luckily or unluckily, I don't know, because it's not only for Lamborghini, but for so many people. What happened was a gold pack in Indonesia, and our shareholder was Tommy Suharto, the son of the dictator of Indonesia. And they were obliged to escape from Indonesia to sell everything. And for this reason, in June 98, in London, was signed the contract between Suharto and Audi, and the company became 100% Audi from June 98 and start another kind of life.
Was that a big change going from outside Audi VW group to being inside?
It was a shock. I can tell you why we recognize immediately that was changed the life. The contract was signed in London the 10th of June. And without any kind of information, 11th of June in the morning, arrived to the gate of Lamborghini, Dr. Pefken, that after became CTO of Audi, and Dr. Piek, the big boss.
All right.
Without any kind of information.
Yeah.
Arrive at the gate, ring, and say, we want to see the product. And we present. I was this time also responsible for the new car that was theoretically the car that must arrive after Diablo, was the V12, new V12 with the body shape made, I don't know if you have never seen, with the two big scoop in the rear, round big scoop, round the surface, and we have already prototyping the run, and I explained to the Torpiek and the Topefin, yes, we have already done several activity in wind tunnel, in tests in our goal. We tested car are really good. Yeah. We have also started to do some investment, and Piek looked at the car and said to Topek, not to me. He told to Dr. Pefken, telling perfect English, dear Dr. Pefken, I want to buy the first Lamborghini realized under Audi responsibility. Until the car will be like this, I will never buy. Decide what you want to do. Okay. Day after, we scrap all project, everything. No. Arrive in Lamborghini, look at Docker Walker, and we start the project that after became the new V12 of Lamborghini. And car was completely different, the mechanical was completely different, and at the end start a completely new era with this new car that substituted the Diablo after we had Gallardo and all other cars.
Yeah, they're starting again on a new car, having just done a new car. Like, what are you doing different the next time, like the second time round, in being involved with Audi and stuff?
First, we start with let me say, is starting a different kind of approach in terms of budget, in terms of investment, in terms of process to realize a car. It's clearly that was not possible to move from 0 to 100 inside the group, but what happened was really a big effort to create something oriented to a new process, but maintaining the spirit of Lamborghini. Otherwise, you are a risk to build an Audi was, let me say, refused from the beginning. But it's clearly that we implemented process that was, in terms of milestone, in terms of gate, in terms of approach, was more similar to what happened in the group. Some activity like also in design to present, to have a digital model, physical model before to start to do a car. At the time before Audi, normally you realize one model, and after this model, more or less what will be in production. With Audi, the process was completely different, and clearly much more structure, much more react to the future. Engine, for example, at the beginning, we decided to start with the engine that was the last version of the Diablo, the 6-liter that was used in Diablo model year 2000, last version of Diablo. With Audi, we decided to modify engine. We increased capacity to 6.2 liter in order to have the best performance compared to our neighbor. We, at the same time, we started to discuss the project of what was called in code the baby Diablo, the famous car that must use Audi powertrain. And when we had the first meeting, they said, no. Lamborghini must really create a car that can go against, at this time it was Ferrari was with the 355, 350. And they said, we want, what is your dream like Lamborghini? For us, it's a V10 because at this time all Formula One moving the V10. And Audi said, okay, you develop V10. We made at your disposal all the technology that we have in aluminum space frame, and we will do a car that is a state of the art. And with this start the project of the Gallardo.
Yeah. And what sort of budget differences are we talking about when, like, pre-Audi for a car, you said you're 180 people, 180 cars, to Audi?
Is something that you cannot compare. It's really offensive to tell number because it's probably the budget for a car at the time of a previous shareholder was not enough to cover the budget only of research and development at all the time.
Yeah.
And this give really a perception. Means we don't talk about some percentage, but number. You multiply 4. Means is 200, 300% more compared to this. But at the end, this is also the way that you have to create a brand, to create reputation, and to arrive and to become with time to something that in terms of quality in the high segment, a super sport car was perceived like the best of the best.
Yeah. I remember around that time of Gallardo and then Murciélago, because it's that transition period.
Murciélago was the first, Gallardo was the second.
Yeah. And people this sort of just general chatter was a bit like, oh, maybe the soul of Lamborghini has gone now that they've been swallowed by this, this large group and stuff. But there's sort of Lamborghini from that point to now, I remember things immediately, like reliability went way up. Like the Gallardo, like those cars are still like running. They're pretty well known for being like pretty solidly bulletproof. People tune them to crazy numbers. And that step, I guess, was probably that must have been like a big sort of perception and change at that time of going, we can now focus. I guess when you're constrained, it's difficult. You can't do the full development, and some people go, oh yeah, but the older cars have character. And then I think a lot of people are like, yeah, but it's quite nice when it works.
I think this is exactly what you mentioned is totally correct. And I think what was how the group, the Audi group was visionary. For me, after probably 10 years, also I am a little bit too much proud of myself, but I was in a 13 brand of the Volkswagen group, the only CTO not German and not able to speak German. Means that from 2006 till 2000 till last year, I was let me say I took the responsibility to guarantee the DNA of Lamborghini and not to compromise, and really to create a philosophy that is still present now. And it's because at the end, today, research and development in Lamborghini will be 400, 500 people. Means that after you are able to create a kind of soul that stay inside all the people. And this is what is important. And you create with time. You need really to give the possibility that everybody digests what is the right soul for this kind of company. And I think today Lamborghini is able to run in a direction that will continues to maintain the soul. Also, if the people change, it's normal that the people change. It cannot be forever. But what is important was the time when we moved from the first day of Audi in Lamborghini, and they give to us the respect to think that we can be the best, let me say, tutor for guarantee that with a higher investment, with a higher number of people, with also an inclusion in the Volkswagen group, you can maintain your DNA and to can offer something to customer that no other can offer. The example of the first V10 of Lamborghini, for me, the first Gallardo Edge, was one of the big exercise to realize in terms of what can be the best for Lamborghini. You can imagine we wish to have the best quality, and for this we decide that from machining point of view, from casting point of view, from some supplier point of view, was better to use group. And we decide to machine the first V12 Lamborghini in Gio, in a big facility of the VW. You can imagine the constraint. Because in the Gio, they machine all the 90-degree edge. But for me was really difficult because I said, no, I want to have 72-degree engine because it's the best for firing order, for the sound, for that. And we start a big discussion because from the other side, you need investment, variable cost, and so. And at the end, Audi accepted and agreed with me the firing order. And for this reason, we made 90 degrees in the block, but with the crankshaft, with the split pin, means the pin of the same bank was split of 18 degrees in order to have the perfect firing order 72 degrees.
Oh, nice.
This is, let me say, a way that together we and them accept the best for Lamborghini, because at the end was the best for investment, for price, but also from DNA point of view, from the soul of the engine. And this is really something that for me was one of the best achievement in terms of culture, in terms of respect between people, between company, and also, let me say, create a really strong trust between them and us.
What would you say Lamborghini is, or what's the soul of a Lamborghini, or sort of how would you define that, or as the aim?
I have this big discussion when we developed the Urus, because Urus was the first car that used much more platform from the group, and at this time was the CEO of the VW group was Matthias Müller, the guy that came from Porsche. He's a big friend of mine also. And what he asked, when he asked me, Maurizio, what you need to create a Lamborghini using a platform? And for me, my answer was really clear. We need to engineer the DNA of Lamborghini. Only if you can engineering the DNA, because otherwise DNA is philosophy. It's something that you cannot touch and you cannot put in a physical, in mathematics. And when we made the Urus, we try to put in a physical way the DNA of Lamborghini. Mainly because moving in a car that from a physical point of view is completely different from the super sport car that we did at this moment, was much more perceivable if there is not the DNA. And let me say, we identify 5-6 points that for us was enough to create the DNA of Lamborghini inside the platform. And the first one probably was one of the less recognizable, but one of the most important. In the first series of the Urus, we were able to convince the group to change the sitting position only for Lamborghini, the platform, and to seat people much lower. Why? Because in an SUV, more lower you are seat, more you are close or below the center of gravity, and you reduce dramatically the rolling and the pitching of the car. And this is something that you perceive immediately. If you are seated in every other car of the group, when Urus was launched, you have a perception that the other car rolling much, much more and pitching much more. This is something that is based on where your body is fixed and what is the harm between your body, center of gravity, and the center of gravity of a car. Because this gives the movement. At the end, you move by halo, not by real movement. The other was normally in the group, they use the rear wheel steering not continuously. We came from experience in first in Aventador and after in the Huracán, where we use the rear steering wheel continuously, because this gives us agility that was unbelievable. And in a SUV with a wheelbase that was 3 meters, if I remember right, or more of 3 meters, the agility or the perception agility is fundamental, because agility means reduce the weight perception.
Yeah.
And we were able to have a rear-wheel drive system that work in all the range of the functionality of the car, increasing the agility and gain much, much more in terms of benefit. The other point was when you use a car like a Lamborghini, you want to have every time a rear of the car that is a predominant, that help you a lot in the oversteering and in the maneuver. And for this reason, we were the only one that was allowed to use the active torque vectoring in the rear. This is not only to brake one wheel, but is to move the power that you don't use in the other wheel. And this increased a lot the perception of the super sport car. After there were some adjustment in the engine output, in the shape of the torque curve. But these were really from a dynamic point of view, from cinematic point of view, from a perception of the human inside the car, the point that you give really a complete redefinition of the DNA and really to change this feeling in a physical way, not only in talking about.
Yeah. When the Urus came out, was there some conflict within Lamborghini about whether an SUV should be made?
But you know, first of all, we were lucky because Lamborghini was the first company to make an SUV. With LM02, we did a SUV.
Ah, yes, this is true.
Before everyone, also before the Hammer. Means we were in our heritage is really, let me say, we were allowed to tell a story that no other can tell.
Yeah.
And for this, after the main issue was, let me say, everybody was convinced due to LM that Lamborghini can have a car like this, and this can be really a big part of the cake of improvement of the size and the stability of the company. Because I remember very well the Urus start with, let me say, a forecast to be able to make volume that was really far away from the real volume that after was released from the Urus, and this create a perception of the brand. Means not only money, but from the brand positioning, from brand awareness was something that was outstanding, because this gives credibility in terms of reliability, in terms of residual value of the car. Everybody want to have, and became more or less a dream all around the world. Not only, let me say, in Italy or in Germany or in UK, but can be European, but America, Asia, everybody wanted to have Urus. And this is really what I tell, like from design point of view, from mechanical point of view, and from usability point of view, was really probably a masterpiece in a luxury business.
It's the one SUV in that sort of segment, and there's been more over time, that it's just absolutely smashed it. Like, everybody wants an Urus. I don't know what, like, why do you think? I know a lot of existing Lamborghini customers got one, and then lots of other people want one, and it's probably the, in that sort of category, it's probably the SUV that if I went to sort of independent dealer and said, I'm thinking of buying something like this, they would all say, get an Urus, because everyone wants one. They hold their value and they're good and all that sort of stuff. Why do you think has been so successful?
Let me say, I'm not an expert of marketing or commercial, but I can tell you what was, for me, was really a surprise. When we had the first launch of the Urus, I met so many customers that was already Lamborghini customer. And the first approach of every one of them was, okay, also my wife want to have a Lamborghini and they want to have Urus. And this became a kind of open to people that sure have the money to do, open a door to the family of Lamborghini. And let me say, this was like to say, is a kind of civilization, because you say everybody can use. You can go to the supermarket, you can go to catch your child at school, you can go in a holiday, because Urus is a car where you can load a huge quantity of luggage. You can be in 5 people, means a normal family, and this really opened a possibility that before was no way. Before, you can have 2 people and you can make a weekend close because of luggage, because other stuff cannot be installed. With Urus, change the perception of the world, where people that sure can be in a sector in terms of money, in terms of power of purchase, that is allowing Urus to say, this is a car that I wish I want, and it's not only for me, but it's for the family.
Yeah. I wonder, I used to live in sort of central London, at least like West London, and I sort of see all the supercars and everything every day. And I noticed with Lamborghinis, especially Gallardos, Huracans, and lots of people drive Aventadors, but I think with the smaller cars, people seem to use them all the time. People just use them as their car. And they love Lamborghini, they love the styling, the noise, all that sort of stuff, but they got used to using a car all the time, I guess. And when you get the Urus along, they're like, oh, I can still have a Lamborghini, it's still got the crazy styling, it's still fast, but it's actually a really usable car. So I guess I suspect, and I don't know whether this is actual reason, but lots of those people are like, oh, this is perfect. Like this is actually what I want. And then almost, has that allowed a distinction to allow the other cars to differentiate themselves a little bit more? Because you've now got the Urus, which is like the super practical daily car. Can the other cars almost start getting more extreme?
I can only say for what I did in my time, but it's clearly back. The super sport car are more show-off car. If you use a Huracán, an Aventador, it's a car for the driver. It's a car where you want to enjoy yourself, using in the, let me say, outside the city, in the hill, to have a narrow road and to experience, let me say, agility of the car, the output of the car. If you are lucky to have some bridge, you hear the sound of the car, not the noisy. The sound of the car, and it's something that is really, let me say, a gift to yourself. Urus is a car that, maintaining some of this peculiarity, is much more able to be also comfortable car. If you use in a strada mode, car is silent, it's comfortable. If you have high suspension, you can go without any kind of trouble, and is a little bit more chameleontic, because if you use it in Costa mode, you can sound the car is more stiff, but every way maintaining a level of normality on brackets that you cannot have if you are inside an Aventador or an STO or Huracán, sure, or a Desperado. These are cars that if you see, you turn your head and you look and say, wow, in Urus is more, let me call, normal.
Yeah, yeah, and it seems from I don't know, from sort of my side looking at what's been made. My perception of the brand has only grown, really. Like up till now, I look at some of the decisions made, and they really stand out for me. Like lots of manufacturers have gone to V6 turbos and stuff like that. Ferrari, notably, and Lamborghini is held out. And then I know it's now a V8, but still, it was V10 for a long time. Still the V12s, and then now we've got the V8 turbo high revving. I presume there is some overlap of your time of looking at that technology and working on that technology. What do you think of that evolution, and then also sort of hybrids?
Let me say now, for me today, looking let me say out of the game means really like a pure technician or pure lovers of car. I can tell you that I think no other engine like a natural aspirated engine with a big number of cylinders can provide emotion that is really unique. The other big points of attention is the weight. Weight is the enemy of every super sport car. I think in the UK you are probably the champion of create something that through lightness is able to provide emotion really unique. If I must say what is my personal perception of best of the best, scary, is when you have a car like STO that is a lighter, you have a V10 that is a naturally aspirated, and at the end this give a best choice in terms of emotion.
Yeah,
It's clearly that this is based on emotion. It's not based on the rule. Rule are homologation. Rule are sound emission in terms of noisy. And it's clearly that manufacturer must go in this tunnel where they need to respect everything, and they need, in some cases, to compromise, not to sacrifice, to compromise some of the most important parameter of the car business. I think talking about super sport car, some action in terms of hybridization are too extreme, because at the end what you have is an output that is an output power that is only based on the sum of two power that will never be really put together. And this is something that I am really afraid that the customer continues to imagine or to use this some number like a parameter, because it is not valid for me. And the only sure point is that the weight is compromised a lot. And I wish also in the future, the way to calculate CO2 is a little bit, I don't want to say not realistic, but is based on some assumptions that are really a little bit far away from the real life of the use of the car. And more, if we go to the full electric vehicle, my personal opinion is, I repeat several times, that mainly from homologation, from law point of view, we are start from the wrong side of the problem. We start from who use energy without, and vice versa. For me, it was mandatory to start from the energy production, energy distribution, energy storage, and after you make car.
Yeah.
Today you have car electric. From what I hear, is difficult to sell. Nobody want to buy.
Yes.
And the other problem is that the major part of the electricity, of the energy, is realized with, let me say, oil or coke or carbon. Distribution are really, the body plan, really distribution that can fulfill all the requirements. And the storage of the energy is still one of the biggest problems. We continue to storage energy with the technology that is really energy consumption technology. Is difficult to recycling, or if you want to recycling, you need to spend much more energy. And like a result, the only one is that the weight is still impressive for a super sport car or for a car in a normal way. Now I am out of the company business and tell you what is my vision, mainly from engineering point of view, from technical point of view.
Yeah, it seems like I really feel for manufacturers like Lamborghini, Ferrari, all the big ones that make these, trying to make these like pinnacle cars. Because when you chat to, I had a chat with the founder of Nilu, who's a new sort of hypercar manufacturer. And he was saying, he's had some people talk to him from big manufacturers saying, I wish we could make the car you're making. Like, at least in concept, you know, I wish we were allowed to make 20, 50 carbon body, naturally aspirated V12s revving to 12,000 RPM that weigh 1,000 kilos or whatever. But we're not allowed. And that does seem mental when you look at how much these cars get driven. So I know for mainstream EV cars, it might be 20, if it's a really green grid, it might be 20,000 miles before the transition to it being better.
Yeah.
Now, an Aston Martin Valkyrie, it's not an electric car, but there's not going to be many of those that are going to get to 20,000 miles in their entire lifetime. So it's a crazy thing. Your point about hybrid powertrains, I thought that was interesting. In terms of, let's say you have a 500 horsepower naturally aspirated engine with a 500 horsepower hybrid motor. I know that's not really what we get at the moment, but that situation, people are marketing it as 1,000 horsepower total, and they're saying it's going to get 120 mpg. Now, it's just not. That's not how it works, is it? In terms of the engine torques, it's like you get a lot more torque, but it's not the same as having 1,000 horsepower for top speed and all of those sorts of things.
Yeah. But Sam, is exactly also the same that happened when people talk about a BEV vehicle and people say, yes, we have 1.5 or 2 megawatts.
Yeah.
When somebody asks me, I say, for how many time and when? Until when you are able to cool down 1 megawatt. You have for 2 seconds, 3 seconds. This you will never able to arrive to a speed that is related to 1.5 megawatts.
Yeah.
You have in acceleration, in a speed, and this is mainly due to the physics between tire and the compound and aerodynamic load or something like this. But after 1.5, 2 megawatt, to achieve high speed, you need time. You need to be able to arrive to this speed progressive, because aerodynamics go with the square of the speed. And at the end, we talk about numbers that are really poor numbers. And if you ask, when do you use this number? Nobody is able to tell you to do what.
Yeah. What's the point in something that weighs 2 tons?
I think for some company, a really important company, it's important to make a statement. I think today it's difficult to think that this can be a business.
Yeah, it's really tricky. And I think this is a good point to sort of segue into the company that you're working with now, Eccentrica. What do you think of Resto mods in general, and then also how did you get involved with Eccentrica?
Let me say, I mentioned before, when I started to work in Lamborghini was in the middle of the Diablo family, and was perceivable for me that arrived from Bugatti, where technology was available, the most advanced due to aerospace, aerospatial, everything was possible. And arrive in Lamborghini, where everything was difficult. And also, if we were aware about the weakness some weakness point of a Diablo was not possible to correct or to improve because due to budget reason, due to the economical situation of the company. Means was well known this area. When I have the first approach with Mr. Colombini, that is the founder and the president of Eccentrica, is a customer of Lamborghini that I met several times because also he raced with us in a Super Trofeo, and it was responsible for Motorsport. And we have, let me say, we start this kind of relationship. And after he is also a collector of Lamborghini, and for this we met several times in an official meeting in Lamborghini. And when we start to discuss at the beginning of this year about my possible collaboration, and he explained me what was the vision that was really to see what are the area where Diablo can be updated with the best technology that theoretically was available also in the 90, but was not possible to install due to the limit of the company. For me, it was really like to close the circle of my experience in Lamborghini and to be back to the beginning of the Diablo. And I think what was the idea, the vision of Eccentrica V12 in the Resto mode of the Diablo was really to take the Diablo rear-wheel drive, this is the first one, the car that was launched at the beginning of the 90s, and to not to correct, but to improve with technology that was still available in the 90s, means 6-speed instead of 5-speed gearbox. I remember very well that at this time, when 0-100, 0-62 miles per hour was one of the most important parameters for the super sport car. And everybody tried to have the best performance, taking out the shifting time that was something that depending from the driver. And the only possibility was to have a long first gear that arrived to 100 kilometers or 62 miles. In this way, we need only to push accelerate. But from the normal use of the car was really a drama. You have every time this kind of pendulum effects and so. And Emmanuel know very well because he has also a Diablo. And today in a world where is say automatic gearbox or double clutch, or is now the manual shift is really something for purists, something for lovers of car. And for this reason, the possibility to enshorten the gear and to give a better drivability with a 6-speed gearbox is something that is well known and is correct to do. The other is based on engine management system. Now, due to the electronics, at this time in Lamborghini, the body throttle was a mechanical body throttle, means a big diameter managed from a mechanical component, means if you touch the accelerator a little bit, there were no filter. You have immediately open and close, and this engage again this pendulum effect. With the Eccentrica was decided to put electronic body throttle, means where you have an hysteresis, a filter, when you move the physical accelerator, and in this way you minimize as much as possible this bounding in the output of the torque. And this is really another big improvement. The other point was probably one of the weakness point of the Diablo was the dimension of the brake disc. Was really small because rim and tire was small. If I remember right, was 19 inch, and the diameter of the brake was ridiculous. You have fading effect after some brake, and this was something the customer complained of. With the Eccentrica, we increased the diameter of the rims and the tire because we increase front and rear track, and we create much more space for the tire. And this allowed to have 380 Brembo disc in the front with a 6 caliper, if I remember correct. Means a power system, brake power system that is probably, if you go in the 90, is a state of the art of the 90. Today, you can have carbon ceramic, but it's clear that this car, maintaining the originality, the purism of the 90, with the best update as possible for this time. Also in the instrument cluster, I was really, now everybody, a big discussion, full digital, full analogic. And so when I see the first time the idea of Eccentrica, this was electronics, digital, but with the technology of the 90. If you remember the first PC in the 90, also when you have a game like a tennis, you have 4 dots big and the ball that is a square that go up and down. And it's clearly that at the time of the Diablo, nobody thinking you can have digital instrument cluster.
Yeah.
But today, to make it digital, but with the, not the technology, the representation, the best practice of the 90 is really something that is original, is outstanding. Don't want to be the best technology because you cannot have the best technology. If you go to the analogic, you have an example like Pagani that every way is really a watchmaker technology, and you must to be original. And for this was one of the most important points. The other is design. I think design was, first of all, what is important for me is that respect of some criteria line of Gandini, and you can see is still the longitudinal line of Gandini present, but all the design is refreshed in a way that is respecting the DNA of Lamborghini, but creating an identity that is much more updating of the looking of today and creating something, I think, really in line with the tradition, but with the right timing of today. These are the exhaust is the sound of the Eccentrica. Here today is something outstanding for one simple reason, that you can use homologation of a 90. And today, with all additional filter in the exhaust, OPF filter, additional catalyst, you have a sound that cut all the frequency of the V12 and also the tonality of engine. In the Eccentrica, you have a sound that for the lovers of this kind of car is like to be at the arena of Verona and to hear the best orchestra as possible.
Yeah, totally. So how was the decision, how was the decision made to pick the time when it was launched and go, what do we think was the best that could be done then versus, you could put 6.2, 700 horsepower, super high revving V12 in it or something?
I think one of point that I say every time is that you need to have the power that can be handled from the car. At the end, that car globally is the best matching between chassis, aerodynamics, and powertrain.
Yeah.
If you have something that is not in line, you have spent energy, money, or weight in something that nobody can perceive. I think the decision to have a little bit more horsepower is we talk about 50, because engine rev really a little bit higher, and a new camshaft that allowed to have more power from the output is because more than the power, more the shape of the torque. We work a lot in order to have a torque that increase the drivability of the Eccentrica, and this is really perfectly dressed on a car, because I mentioned before, we have a larger front and rear track, we have a bigger tire, bigger brake disc, and also new suspension. And what allows this is that we are able to handle this additional horsepower. It's not only to have more horsepower. And this is, I think, is a perfect, is like when you see in a défilé, you have a perfect shape of a man, of a woman, with the dress that is really dressed on him, on her.
Yeah.
And what did Eccentrica was exactly this, not to create something that is to put 800 horsepower, and after you very well that the car is not able to manage or to handle. At the end, this was a closed circle done in the best way as possible, and I think is what customer can perceive. That is not to have an outstanding power, and after to be worried to accelerate because they are not, let me say, confidence if the car is able to handle with additional power.
And what's it like to drive and versus a sort of standard Diablo?
The first perception is the output of power, means you have much more progressivity due to the gearbox, due to the engine modification, and it's clear that after I used several times also the old Diablo for different reasons on track and something like this, and the perception that you have in braking, in at least a confidence with the car is 2, 3, 4 times more because you know that this is really the best. In the original Diablo, we were a normal power steering hydraulic with only one line. Now we have electric steering pump that allows really to have an output in terms of force and in terms of precision of angle that is really super customized. You can choose between 3 max, where you have engine output, you have suspension damping, and you have also steering that really give the car the possibility to allow much more confidence. In the Diablo, nothing. You don't have any kind of active suspension.
Yeah.
Look of the map of the engine, it exists. Means you have one, and is like I mentioned before, mainly mechanical. Means when in some condition in a traffic jump, if you start to jump with the engine, you're embarrassing also people that are seated close to you, and nobody want to give this impression that is like to say you are not able to drive a car. Now everything have much more progressivity, is much able to release power manageable, and this is what I think customer want.
Yeah, it's interesting that point. It's something that I think of when I hear people driving Diablos and stuff around town. It's always like
this is really related to the difficulty to stay or to come out from idle speed.
Yeah,
because with that you don't have it's like if you don't have a direct connection between your feet and the engine, and this is coming from the response of the engine of the throttle because it's poor mechanical, and when you open half degree is already too much, but with the sensibility of your feet you cannot control less of 0.5 degree, and this electronic body throttle are able to do this because if they have a law of progressivity, you can push a little bit faster or slower, but this progressivity is a mandatory, and you know the points of start and the point of arrival, but the way to move is decided from electronic control.
Yeah, not 0-1. Like
the problem is 0-1 and after back to 0, because if you remove the kick accelerator, you go back to 0 and you emphasize the wave every time, and you increase the pendulum effect on your head and the passenger, and everybody that is around the car thinking that you are not able, you are a smart guy, and you are not able. You have the money for the car, but you are not able to drive, and this is something that nobody wants to hear.
No one wants that in their Lamborghini or in any car, really. And so being involved in this car. And I know is it 19 are going to be made of these?
19 was launched, 91 was first year of production.
When are we going to start seeing the first customer cars?
First customer car is foreseen to be delivery at July 25. We have now 2 cars that is used for events and also for development, because we have so many components, and one car will be fully dedicated to the development and release of the system. The second car will also join the development, but a little bit later, because it's still in US for some events, mainly for marketing events, but the car is drivable also, the car in US. And we are now in a process to finish to assembly the second one, but on the beginning of the year will be available to start the development program.
Is it difficult with such a small number of cars And presumably, as we've talked about before, like in the early days of Lamborghini, you don't have a massive team, you don't have a big budget. I know the cars are expensive, but they sort of have to be, you've only got 19 to sell to sort of recoup the cost. Are there lots of challenges in that? And then I guess, depending on the partners, is it a lot easier to do that now?
Let me say, I probably is also one my role like advisor of Eccentrica. I implemented in Lamborghini what was called the fuel strategy in car like Reventon, that was in 2006 and was 20 car. I did Veneno, that were 3 car, and after 6 Roadster. I did the Centenario, that was 40 car, if I remember right. I did the Sian, that was a 19 Roadster, and this is the same philosophy to realize this kind of car, because the volume are more or less in this parameter. And my advice to Eccentrica is to have the best practice as possible in order to be able to have the same success that other company did in terms of in what way to make the development, in what way to use a supplier that can make this kind of volume with the right quality, and also to guarantee the right, level of assembly and the delivery of the car to the final customer.
Yeah, it was going to be one of my questions, because I knew you'd done these special projects. What's different about doing a run of 20, and like what sort of things do you have to change and do for that sort of number versus 5,000 or something?
The issue at the end is the expectation in terms of return of the investment of the entire project for this small number is every time much higher than to a real production car, due to the fact that time is shorter, risk is higher, because if you don't sell one car, you lose a lot. And for this reason, you need to be able to have a circle of strategic supplier or partner, called partner, not supplier, around you that can take a much more responsibility compared to what happened when you have a real volume production car. In this, you share with them probably much more visibility on the project, on the task, on the in some case also in the risk or in the opportunity, also from financial point of view, and you create right flexibility and the right engagement that is not only to do something that you gave them, but to help you to build the right way to have something. And I think what is a partner that Eccentrica choose is really a good partner, well known, also in this kind of business, Resto mode, but also small volume of car. And I think the really, step that we need to made compared to what they already need in the future is that we move in the top class of the Resto mode. Eccentrica V12 is a pinnacle of the Resto mode in terms of price, in terms of products, in terms of donor car. And for this reason, expectations are really high. And Eccentrica, together with the partner, must be able really to work much more close to compare also to other projects, because 19 cars are really small volume, and you cannot lose one. But you must have the right operating profit for each car, because I think one of the points that you need to take every time in account is that the value of the donor car can be one question mark, because a donor car is something that for you can have a value of 200,000 euro, for me 300, for another one can be 500,000. And this is something that is a barrier, is something to win, means the achievement of 19 beginning also from this kind of first challenge to win. I am also curious, but in engagement really to see the first customer and the other 18 customer, because I can imagine that for this kind of car, every donor car can be different from the other. You can have cars that arrive painted in in green, and they want to have in pink, interiors that are black, they want to have white, and everything must be much more personalized and customized compared to what can be a car that starts from scratch. Car that starts from scratch, you define color entry, you define all the specification, and these are parts of the bill of material of the project. In this case, you have a bill of material of a donor car. You need to reshape with a bill of material of Eccentrica, of Resto mode, but you cannot avoid the necessity to match what is a basis car that you use like a start. It means I think every car will be really a one-off.
Okay, yeah.
And I think this is really something interesting to engage and to solve.
Yeah, that must be very tricky in manufacture. And have you specified that the donor cars all have to be a certain model within a certain number of years, or is there an allowance?
No, today, donor car for the Eccentrica V12 have a constraint to be in the first parts of the Diablo, means 91, 92, and some cars of 93 must be rear-wheel drive.
Yeah,
and must be before the 30th anniversary, because it's another category and was done in a different way.
Yeah. And it must be really hard with this sort of price of product and level and small production number. And this must have been the same in Lamborghini when you were there, when you're doing those special products. Is you can't do the same level of development and testing that you would do for an Aventador or something for one of these small, or maybe you can. So even things like small stuff not working, or like, how do you manage that and that with the customers?
This is one of the most difficult points. You have to play right, fine, but you need to start from an assumption. You have a basic car already developed. You need to synchronize all what is new with something that is old, and sometimes the best compromise is to change everything instead to have a risk to join something where if something happened, you are not able to understand where come from the problem.
Yeah.
The example of the wiring system discussion about the possibility to join a new wiring system with the old wiring system, because at the end it's more easy, also starting from donor car and something like this.
Yeah.
And at the end, the decision was everything new, because it's the only way where you can make, for example, hardware and software in the loop, and you can check if let me say, if there is a problem, that I go to the supplier, to Sam, and say, you have a problem in this wiring, in this issue. And so if you have something that came from old car, you will never able to detect who is responsible. And for this reason, was choose the components where the risk of problems similar like this can happen, and on this is better to have everything new.
Yeah.
This is really there is not is based on the, let me call on a competence. Probably is one of the reasons because I do Eccentrica asked me to join the project.
Yeah,
I think this can be one value that I can be sure.
And then I guess it's possibly not. There's no answer to this question, but once 19. You've joined this company. Once 19 are done in not that long, what happens then? Maybe something else.
I think let me say, when Lamborghini launched the Diablo, I was in Bugatti and we launched the Bugatti. They were our competitor. They were Bugatti AB110 was launched together with Diablo. And the competition was really who can be the best of the best of the best. We were close. We know very well each other. And today, I can say I try to give the possibility to Eccentrica to do a Diablo that was at the level to be the best, when in 90 probably the best was Bugatti.
Yeah. Do you, when you look at the rest of this space, are there any particular companies that you like what they're doing, or technology that people are using, or anything?
For me, I must admit that was a new world that I still continues to discover now, because when Eccentrica, when Emanuele Fonombini approached me, for me, Resto was something that was completely out of my radar.
Yeah.
I was obliged to have a kind of full immersion to understand what happened. And I recognize also important name like Tiger and so that they really made project super ambitious. And it's clearly that with my heritage, all what is new is also interesting. It's something where you want to put your finger and to try to check if the chocolate is good or better. Today I live this experience with a background of 43 years in the car business, but like it is the first time that I approach, because I have full respect of this new business, and being completely, let me say, a newcomer. I don't want to say that I know everything. I can tell what normally happened during the development, during the industrialization, in a volume of car like this, being aware that some of this stuff are completely new also for me. After I can tell you that a car is a car, super sport car is a super sport car, but you work on something that is not completely under your control. You need to try to think or to understand what can be the risky points.
Yeah.
Some also based on experience, because I work on a Diablo without to know everything, sure, because from the beginning I was not involved. But is with the full respect of the difficulty or the line list, I try to give, let me say, my advice. It is back or left, right, straight, be back. And I think this is the most important value, apart my sensibility, but apart what is a kind of spelling, if the solution can be good or not. But I will really try to support Eccentrica in order to avoid the problem that probably other can face during the development of car like this. Because at the end, the combination between Maurizio Reggiani background and Eccentrica is something that happened only due to the fact that I was retired, that Lamborghini was fine for this kind of support and some other points. But like sometimes happened in some dream, this happened, and I will try to do my best to achieve it. And I wish that Eccentrica will able to put on profits all my advice and suggestions.
Yeah. Oh, it's an incredible like timing and like linking up.
Yeah,
exactly.
If with 1 or 2 years of there is a disalignment, nothing can happen at all. And sometimes life is done also by opportunity, by moments. Everything happened by moments, and all my career happened by moments. All my decision was never decision taken with the right visibility of what can happen, from Maserati to Bugatti to Lamborghini, and today also.
Yeah. Right. Well, I normally wrap these up with 5 sort of automotive-based questions. So, do you have a most memorable driving trip or journey?
I can tell you that one of my best experience was the first time that during the development of the Urus, we did kind of dual surfing experience.
All right, nice.
And for me, I spent all my career on track normally. And when I did the first time this in Dubai, for me was like to be a child at Luna Park and really surfing a dune, riding on the top of the dune, and after staying on the peak, going up and down with this kind of car was, I cannot describe, because I live a second life, and was to discover something unique. And this for me remaining is something that every time I mention, because if you cannot experience, it's also difficult to describe. And for me, was, imagine I have 7 different kind of car, and tested all with the same more or less thing, because some was better, some was worse, and you go up at for this dune of it's called the big one is out of Dubai, 400 meter, all in first gear, without any kind of control, all the accelerator, and after the first time you did the mistake, you put the second gear and the car fall down in the sand. People must pull out you, and is one of the most memorable driving experience of my life, sure. Ice was fantastic, practice fantastic, Nordschleife is fantastic, Dune is emotion.
That is cool. That is very cool. If you could only drive one car, one sports car, for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Huracán Performante.
Oh, nice.
Is a car where for the first time we installed the active aerodynamic. Was a car that easy to drive in order to achieve performance on track. It's not the faster, but is a car where every driver, also it is not super professional, can achieve the best lap time. I think it's a car that in terms of engineering solution is a masterpiece. Is a car that when my engineering proposed me the ALA, the active Lamborghini aerodynamic system with the torque vectoring in the rear, I told them that I cannot trust on a solution. Means I did a mistake. When they prepare a prototyping for me that I draw, I say, wow, it's a marvelous car. What you did? I say, we did what you refuse. And this is also a way to accept mistake. And after when we put in production, was one of the big success. It was a car that received award from Autocar in UK, Silverstone. And when I received the award from Autocar, they told me is the first time that we awarded a company that is not a UK company for aerodynamics feature. Means normally you know better than me, but aerodynamic is a game, is a field of UK company, and I think this was really in terms of if I can have a car, this is a car that I will take.
I remember when that car came out, and they in the press material they talk about their aerodynamic stuff, and I remember just being like, yeah, whatever, that doesn't work. Like, no way is this going to make a difference.
Yeah, but
and then
after also this, I in several presentations I have the same question from a different journalist, and I explain them in this way. It's like when you go to ski, and when you put pressure on one ski and you turn in the other side. With the active aerodynamics in the rear, we are able to torque vectoring. We are able to do exactly the same. And the car reduced the angle steering in a dramatic way. The car became much, much more easy to drive and to handle. And at the end, this was accepted and perceived from, and was a car where we did the first Nordschleife record with Huracán taking out from Porsche. It was Huracán Performante.
I remember that was the Lamborghini that I started to see people, for example, at the Nürburgring, who might have had a GT3 RS, which is the car you just see at the Nürburgring. You started to see Huracán Performantes. And people were like, for the same usage. And that was like a big change of like, oh, this is a proper like This is a proper driver's car. People are rating it as that. This must be good. This must be really good.
Yeah. But this was also when we started to perceive the behavior of the performante, we decided to make the attempt to the Nürburgring because we were confident. It's difficult because Nordschleife is, you cannot say we are confident, but was possible to try to achieve. And we did with Marco Mappelli, our driver, and was outstanding, let me say, statements about the performance and the capability of a Lamborghini. I think this was something really that changed in a sector of people that look at super sport car like must be gauche, must be controlled at the Nordschleife. That yes, this is a part of the club.
Yeah. What do you think is the most undervalued car at the moment? What should be worth more?
For me, it's difficult because I respect too much the other company, and it's difficult to talk about the other, mainly for respect. I think if I need to say for Lamborghini, I think it's a Spada.
Okay, yeah.
Spada was so innovative, so in advance. For me, a Spada is like LM02, became before Panamera.
Yeah.
Decades before. And if you see the concept, the idea there was exactly the same. Also from design point of view, was really outstanding, but probably was not understood at this time. And also today, not many people know Spada, know when Spada was built, what was the mission, and they compare with the car that made a success in the last decades.
Yeah. What's the most interesting car to you at the moment? Could be technology, looking up, anything like that?
For me, was Aventador. Aventador, I did, for me, is one of the most exciting, is the car that I have a privilege to steer. And really, Aventador start from the famous white paper. I was able to convince a VW group that we had the competence to make a full monocoque carbon fiber. In order to have this kind of approval from VW, I flew to Seattle, and I opened a laboratory in the Washington University in Seattle that made all the activity for the point at the time of the simulation of the 787, the Dreamliner, that was fully carbon fiber. And in this way, I was able to be the owner of a laboratory that made the calculation for Boeing. And in this way, I catch collaboration with Boeing, but some engineering came in Lamborghini for simulation of the crash behavior of the chassis. And the VW group accept that Lamborghini can have the competence. We did a completely new engine. We invented the gearbox, but at the beginning was not, let me say, everybody stays too much aggressive, too much race. And when Aventador arrived at the end, everybody loved and everybody wished to have again in a Lamborghini. Push rod suspension, front rear design that was outstanding, became a kind of mito. And the car, I remember very well, born like a project that full cycle life is something like 5,700 cars. We sold more of 12,000. And this is really something that I take probably the major risk of my career, because I was just CTO when we started the project. And instead to use the carryover, to use components, a group that was already existing, I convinced first my colleague of the board of Lamborghini and after of the Audi and VW to make this new triple jump in the future. And at the end, in terms of profitability, in terms of performance, in terms of quality, I think we made a project that stay on the market from 2011 till 2022. It's something really exceptional.
That car For me, and I think so many people, definitely like the younger generation, is if you say to someone, draw a supercar, they draw an Aventador. Like, it's just like, bang, that's the shape, that's the design. Lamborghini, like, as a thing, I think that it was just incredible. And I remember when it came out, just being like, this is so different to everything else. Like, just the super aggressive, sharp lines, everything. And it is like, I think most people will, if you said draw a supercar, they basically draw an Aventador now.
I agree with you. And also, if you consider that the majority of the car that was built, like a few off of Lamborghini, a special version, or are based on Aventador. Is Aventador have the capability and the power to be different, remaining in Aventador. And when this happened for so long time is because the project can be, in some cases, like I mentioned before, was arrogant, but arrogant in a positive way. Was so futuristic that can stay on the market in the right place without to become aging, but remaining, let's say, iconics in the last couple.
Yeah. And when you are starting the Aventador project, are you thinking that we were going to do however many, there was a lot like of special projects off the Aventador? Is that sort of thought out at the beginning and you go, maybe we'll do 2, or does that just happen over time?
No, when we start Aventador, in our idea, there was every time only the Coupe, the Resto, and the Super Veloce, the latter version. This was the free car. And after all the other version became on some, let me call, brainstorming with the idea and the scope, mainly to improve also the brand awareness. At the end, if you see what was able to make car like the Benino, the Centenario, the Sian, the Countach, was really to boost the brand Lamborghini, because when you are able to produce, 3 car and sold at 3 million each immediately without to have a car, you create a rumors about around the brand that really is fundamental.
Yeah.
When you made another one, you make more car at the same price, and also in this case sold out immediately. This is really the powerful brand that really blow continuously. And only with this car you can boost and you can confirm that you are in a hierarchy with the brand position really in the top.
And it must be a really fine balance deciding the number you're going to do, like 3, or because we see a lot of brands that do 100 and then don't sell them.
I think normally is when also we start small number, high price is where you have really less risk, because you know that you have some customer that trust on you. It's clearly that more you increase the volume and more you need to catch additional customer, after depending from the price that you want to achieve. And normally you have this kind of elasticity between price and volume, but also in this case, this is the power of a brand.
Yeah.
If you have a powerful brand, people trust because it's an investment. When we did the Sian was 19 coupe and 63 roadster, was really a big challenge, but people trust. We used to launch for super capacitor, innovation also in terms of technology, and from design, from technology, from innovation, people want.
Yeah, I think it's very impressive, and I've just seen it in other manufacturers where maybe Lamborghini has made, I don't know, whatever the number of customers is, but minus a bit. They've made less, and as soon as you go over the number of customers, that's it.
Yeah, where you have to tell you
game over.
The brand is based also on how much you desire, how much time you are ready to wait, because this is another important parameter. Also with Eccentrica, I think the fact that the first car will be delivered in July 25 is correct. And after every month will be a car delivered to the customer. You cannot be too much under pressure to delivery. Otherwise, it's like if you go to supermarket and you pay and you can have. And this is not the scope of a brand if you want to build a brand.
Yeah, it's part of that process. Okay, final question. 5-car garage, unlimited value. It's got to fit into your life, so you might need a daily driver.
I can tell you what my first car was 78 Ford Fiesta. Red Ford Fiesta was one of the first one. I love like my first girlfriend. Is a question of passion, of possess or something like that. After, I love the first Panda, really the first one, where everything was done in a so simple way, so cool way that only a genius can make a car like this. Mini Mino, and we are already at 3 cars. After there is a car that I was also able to buy, means I need to put because it was a dream from when I was child. I have Alfa Romeo Duetto also di Sepia, the car that was used in The Graduate, the movie with Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
And I had one still with the original number plate from Milano in the years that it was launched. This is from 66. And if I can be satisfied my dream, sure. You mentioned before an Aventador. Aventador for me is a car that represents my career, represent I think probably one of the top achievement of my life, and if I must say, yeah. No.
Nice. Well, that's a very good 5-car garage. Every Italian person I've interviewed wants a Panda. Italy and pandas has a real thing.
I say also from engineering point of view, I never work in a mass production car, but when I see Panda and you see the fact that they have a windscreen flat, easy, you don't need to invest nothing. You have the wiper that work perfectly because everything is flat. Your interiors are with nothing, but you can store everything.
Yeah.
Car is so easy to drive. You have an engine that is small, but you can go everywhere. You can park everywhere. You can load everything. Seats are essential. It's clearly it's not for long cruise or something like that. But for me, it's still the car.
Yeah.
And Mini is because it's still a small car. You have an outstanding concept from engineering point of view, and is in also in terms of design so cool. It's remaining a mito.
Every time I go to Italy, I see so many pandas like everywhere, and I always think I want a Panda. Like they fit everything about it, as you say. I'm like, that's just a great car.
Is the car really done to be a slave of the driver? So you don't need to do nothing on Panda. You put only some fuel every time that is needed. Nothing more.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. It's been really interesting.
Grazie, Sam. It was really a big pleasure also for me, and I wish that to be able to give enough also cool explanation of my 43 years of career in this podcast.
Thank you very much.
Grazie. Thanks for the opportunity.